Now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome. This is Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I am Mamode Akuga. Today on the program, we'll continue our coverage of the crisis in Belema community and the shutdown of the Belema flow station in Akukutoro local government area of Rivers State. After the recent failed invasion of the flow station by security operatives and thugs to forcefully eject the protesting women who have successfully shut down the flow station in the last 1 year, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEV, is calling for a full-scale investigation into the incident. Also, today on the program, we'll take a look at the federal government's decision to revoke the licenses of oil and gas companies that continue to flare gas as part of their operations from 2019. Inside the Niger Delta, we'll be back after this timeout.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Welcome back. The quest for local and community participation in Nigeria's oil and gas industry is at the root of the crisis between Shell Petroleum Development Company SPDC and Belema, Kula, Ngeje and Ofonyama communities in Akukutoro local government area of Rivers State. The people of these communities believe that Shell, which is the operator of OML 25, the Belema flow station, wants to divest its interest in OML 25, and they are insisting on being given the right of first refusal to the oil field. They say they have one of their own who has demonstrated enough capacity to manage oil fields and should therefore be given the license to operate it. To demonstrate their resolve not to allow Shell sell off the oil field to a non-Niger Deltan, women from the communities have over the past 1 year occupied the flow station and prevented any operations there. However, on Saturday, 15th of September 2018, there was an attempt to forcefully eject them from the flow station as the chairman of Akukutoro local government area, Honorable Roland Sekibo, in company of political allies, security operatives and thugs, stormed the flow station.
On Saturday, precisely about 15th of this month, we had a call that the Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, has connived with the chairman of the Akukutoro local government, Honorable Sekibo, to go and coerce the community, drive away the women who are there, and open the flow station. Sekibo led the team with 7 boats conveying tugs and the naval gunboat, 5 naval gunboats to the place. Incidentally, the people on ground challenged them and they could not be able to drive away the people and enforce the reopening of the place. So when we heard of JTF going there, it took us by surprise because we know what will happen. And by the grace of God, God intervened. Because what would have happened there would have been a crisis between Abodima and Kola. And as we speak today, either they are killing people in Kola or they are killing people in Abodima. Because all those talks from Abodima that went to the place, if any of them had died, or if any of the Kola persons have died, it would have been a full blown up war. We're also surprised that the chairman of the local government does not understand the meaning of shutting down a facility like oil flow station, where we have gas. One bullet shot can set the whole place ablaze. And that would have been dangerous for both the thugs, the military, and the villagers. In addition, the cost on infrastructure. PANDEV does not believe in destroying the facility we have in our territory. We believe in protecting the environment in our place. And we believe in peace. We believe in dialogue, not confrontation. But the idea of the local government chairman was to go and cause confusion in fighting between the community with the hope that, they are fighting, so the military came in because they are fighting to dislodge them. But God intervened and that did not happen.
Well, several attempts were made to reach Honorable Roland Sekibo to get his own side of the story, but he turned down all requests to speak with him. However, Shell says they did not organize the invasion of the Belema flow station as claimed by Pandev.
Since August 11th last year, we've had these invaders who are illegally occupying that facility, the Belema flow station and gas plant. This is operated by SPDC on behalf of the federal government, who own 55% stake, Total and Ajib. That's about 405 days, if I'm not mistaken, since they went onto that facility and illegally occupied it. Given that government is a stakeholder in that business, that they might want to take steps to remove the illegal occupants of that facility. So I think that's what happened over the weekend. Of course, we are not in control of government or security agencies. So I mean, that actually tells you the story. So it's not correct. But the big picture is, should these things be happening? The oil and gas industry is a global one. There are rules around the industry that are global. Even when you talk about ownership and operatorship of assets, there are rules around it. And we'll have to all learn to obey those rules. If you circumvent them or start to, customize our own rules that are not acceptable to the industry, we will lose investments. We will lose a lot of value. We will not get the growth and development that we are looking for. So for me, that's really the big picture and what we should be focusing on.
Disturbed by the incident, 91-year-old leader of Pandev, Chief E.K. Clark, called a press conference where he asked the federal government to investigate the military invasion of the communities.
Why I have decided to hold this press briefing is this. You remember some time ago, in 2016, some youths, you call them militants, in the name of Niger Delta Avengers, were involved in pipeline vandalization, and there were crises all over the place, and the production of oil was reduced to about 900,000 barrels a day. And we thought there was need to have peace in the area and to avoid the pollution of our water and every other thing, our ecosystem and so forth. So we got ourselves involved in this matter. And we discovered that this very location where this crisis is taking place is in River State, and there are people there who are involved with the oil exploration and production of oil, but Shell will never give them. But through their managerial staff, some of these things have been sold out to people who are not Niger Delta. And this is very, very sickening and very, very agitating. Now, as I said earlier, but for Pandev, the oil production in the country could have gone down so low. But with the intervention of Pandev in 2016, the production rose again to about 2.2 million barrels a day, per day. And this has been the situation. There has been peace in the area. Various oil companies are doing their job unmolested. In this particular instance, Pandev became involved when there was crisis in Kola, in Belema, and Pandev even sent a delegation to the area and interacted with the people not to cause any crisis. Recently, the Minister of State, Petroleum, invited us, particularly myself and members of Pandev, to a meeting over this oil field. And for Kola people to come to attend that meeting, we asked the Ministry of Petroleum to facilitate the movement of the people from River State to Abuja. The minister told me that he was going to ask Shell to do so. But the minister later informed me that Shell was not ready to do that job of facilitating the movement of these people from Kola to Abuja. That was the end of the meeting, because the people could not come on their own. Now, they've been sitting in that place, and we issued a statement some time ago that the government was losing money. The state government was losing money. They should do something to settle this problem. But what do? They decided to intimidate the people, harass them by driving them from where they were. Some of them have been killed, injured, and the local government council, thinking that they'll be helping Shell company, brought even thugs to attack the innocent people. Is that what we stand for? Is that our gain? That we live in our home? Because oil is found in our backyard, we have become criminals, we become agitators, troublemakers. That's what they call us. But these oil facilities are being managed by people from other parts of Nigeria, without the participation of the people from the Niger Delta. We are strangers in our own home. How long will this continue? The federal government, the NNPC, they don't care whether the people are dying or surviving. It's not their problem. We have no farms. What is going on? We have seen it. Shell and other oil companies have sold almost all their oil fields to other people other than the indigenous of Niger Delta. Is that fair? Federal government should see to the welfare of the people of the Niger Delta. There are no projects in the Niger Delta. The military that went to invade the area should be investigated. We have been accused of oil bunkering. I challenge the military to say that they are not involved in bunkering. So we are tired. What is happening? Senior managers of Nigeria, from other parts of the Niger Delta of Nigeria, they come into either to be the managing director or the general manager. They use their proxies to buy some of these oil fields. We don't have anything.
If local and community participation will bring peace and give Niger Deltans a sense of belonging, why is the federal government and the oil companies finding it difficult to involve them? Is the request of the communities to be part of the oil and gas industry unreasonable? Well, we spoke to some Niger Deltans on this matter.
What these communities are seeking is a direct participation, a direct involvement in that economic development process. Now, the oil is in their land, the oil field is in their land, and they want to have a say in who operates in that place. In strict social economic terms, we call it the social license to operate. The people are trying to give you the social license to operate, because whether you give it to an outsider to operate, it is still going to be within the acceptable oil field practice. Belema oil will not go below the acceptable international rules of oil field practice. So the communities are only simply saying, let us have a say in who comes in here. That's what they are saying. And I think they are right. But again, they need to play the politics. Because there is oil politics. They need to play the politics. It doesn't need to be violently done. they should get involved in the politics of oil. And if they do it well, they can get it. Unfortunately, we are in a country where the people who make the loudest noise and who apply violence are those who get the attention of government. It need not be so. The government should see a reason and test the approach of letting communities have a say in the business that is going on in their community and use that as a benchmark for other economic activities.
Show us what you can do for us, then we can know if you can come in to do something for us better than, you know, where they're coming from. Now, SPDC over the years have failed in their mode of operation. You know, community engagement, community participation, it's zero. But what Belema Oil did was to take advantage of the loopholes that have been created by Shell over the years. And they showed their competence by, you know, developing these communities and including the communities in the process of managing their resources. And to an extent, they are not doing the wrong thing by inviting Belema Oil into their communities. Because yes, Belema Oil has proven themselves competent enough to take ownership of the community, to take ownership of the community responsibilities, and they've been able. Just 2 days ago, they gave out scholarship to community indigents, and you know, though Shell did all of those things, but your approach is key to having a role, you know, to play around that communities. The communities are fed up with the bad and evil ways of Shell. If you go to Alakiri, if you go everywhere, you have Shell mismanaging the resources, mismanaging the people. So I think Shell, they've hit their limit. I think it's time for them to take a bow and let the local players in the oil and gas business to come in and show what they've got.
Over the years, the communities, the state government, nobody was consulted when the federal government gave away the oil mineral license to Shell. Now that it has expired, I think the community should have a say in how that oil well or oil block is managed in order to engender peace in the area. Because the federal government that is in Abuja cannot begin to decide where this oil block should go. The community should have an interest, because one of the issues that is bringing crisis in the Niger Delta is the alienation of the people from the ownership of the resources that is under their soil. Therefore, if the federal government wants peace, if they want peaceful coexistence, they should allow the community to make an input into how this oil block that is now, or oil mineral lease that is now available, should be awarded. And I think that if the community is at peace with awarding it to a certainly defined company, I think the community is right. You will notice that the Ogoni crisis is still a problem, because the Ogonis had insisted that Shell cannot come back, and any company that will come back, the Ogonis must know, must be aware and make their own contributions to who or which company operates in the area, in order for the community to live at peace with oil operators. And then, of course, there will be progress, there will be success, and there will be resources for all, for the development of the environment and even accelerated development of the people.
Away from the oil conflict between Shell and the Belema people. Well, one of the hazards of oil production in the Niger Delta is the emission of dangerous gases through the flaring of gas. Well, there seems to be some good news in that regard, as the federal government last week hinted that it will revoke the licenses of oil and gas companies that failed to phase out gas flaring in their operations from 2019. The hint, given by Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachukwu, is generating reactions from Nigerians resident in the Niger Delta. Their views are captured in this special report.
For several decades since the advent of crude oil production in the late 1950s, communities in the Niger Delta have been exposed to poisonous greenhouse gases emitted by oil companies operating in the region. Owing to the environmental and health hazards associated with the flaring of gas, the federal government attempted to stop the trend with the promulgation of the Associated Gas Reinjection Decree of 1979. Penalties were imposed on defaulting oil companies. Yet the volume of gas flared in the country has increased significantly over the years. Last month, the federal government announced the existence of 178 flare sites, where about 755 million standard cubic feet of gas is flared on a daily basis. This is besides several unreported gas flare sites in the Niger Delta.
When you say don't flare gas, If you flare, you pay such amount. Does that person has good intention for the country? When you know that the oil companies can take that amount you have attached as peanuts, you have no interest. You ban. And the economic importance of gas is so high that you don't give an additional condition of if you default, pay this.
We have been collecting $3 something cents for gas flaring. No state has rejected it. How can you collect money for what is killing your people? Blood money.
The latest move by the federal government to end the flaring of gas is generally viewed as a welcome development, but some key players in the oil and gas industry warn that it should be taken with a pinch of salt.
I have been in this gas and energy sector, researching and communicating for a long time. And I know that when we attended meetings in 2004, the federal government said that the deadline for flaring was 2008. And we were glad we left the meeting. The next thing we heard was that it was now 2010. 2010 came past. Then it was 2012 deadline. 2012 left. It was 2014. And now we're in 2018, nothing has been done. I know that somebody will tell me, yes, even in overseas and developed countries that they also flare. But it is controlled flaring that they do, not what we are doing here.
These oil companies that flare gas that the Minister for Petroleum is talking about, who are they? Are they not the same companies in which the federal government has 60% stake? So if they have 60% stake in them, is he talking to himself or talking to some external people? These are people whom through an NPC he controls, and yet he is giving them a deadline which he knows they will not obey. He's not the first to do that. When acts of the National Assembly have not been able to stop them from flaring gas, his pronouncement cannot change anything on ground. It's not just giving order. Giving order is a little bit short-sighted, and maybe it serves only the media and the public who may not be well informed to take them seriously. But the oil companies will not budge at all.
Nigeria, previously the world's highest gas flaring country, recently moved to 6th position following what the Nigerian authorities attribute to the deployment of a clean development mechanism for appropriate gas utilization. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kacheku, had in the month of January this year disclosed that the country was 70% compliant on its gas flares exit plan, but available records indicate that there is still much left to be done with regard to the utilization of Nigeria's vast gas resources. For instance, data released by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in its monthly financial and operations report for September last year reveals that oil companies flared about 25.53 billion standard cubic feet of gas in that month alone. Endowed with vast gas reserves estimated at over 190 trillion standard cubic feet, Nigeria is a major gas province in the world. Unfortunately, gas has become a wasted economic asset as confirmed in the September 2017 report of the NNPC, which shows that the country lost about 23.74 billion naira to gas flaring in just 1 month.
If we can invest heavily on industries that can use this gas, see, your electricity is to use gas, and you take it to various areas. Now, you now centralize electricity in the whole country into one place. Supposing you cut it into bits, and this gas is being used in various states, so that the ones that are not using gas should be used in other areas. You will see that the inefficiency of power distribution will be out of the way.
It is not just that we are flaring and polluting the environment. It is that we are wasting a huge resource. Train 7, LNG Bonny, have been proposed for more than 15 years. Do you know that as we speak, it has not taken off? Every government that has come into Nigeria in the past 20 years have had in mind to build at least an LNG. None has succeeded in expanding the LNG liquefied natural gas facility in Nigeria. None has done it. So we have an opportunity to harness this thing. The conceptions are all there, the drawing, everything is complete. But the will to implement them is not there.
Prior to its pronouncement last week, the Nigerian government previously set a 2020 deadline to end gas flaring 10 years ahead of the 2030 deadline put in place by the United Nations for the world to exit gas flaring.
Well, time will tell just how serious the Nigerian government is in stopping gas flaring. Well, that's our package on Inside the Niger Delta for today. My name is Mahmoud Akuga. Thank you all so much for watching. Of course, same time, same station next week. I'll be here to bring you more reports from inside the Niger Delta. Bye for now.